Okay, I've just turned some of the light out and that's a lot better colour-wise, I think. Anyway, good. Thanks for being with us today. Now, today's story is for Christmas, right? It's not specifically a Christmas story, but it happened at Christmas, and I think it's very funny. So, in fact, I think it's hilarious. But I wasn't on the receiving end of this, and I suppose the poor chap who suffered all this as a result of these actions, well-meaning actions, then I suppose it take a long time to live it down. Anyway, this is the story coming up. It's been on Buzzsprout a long time. It's one of the stories from Northcote. I think it's 1993 or something like that. The story tells you the background, and it's about animals. It's an animal story. Don't ever work with animals and children, they say. This is what happens. So I hope you enjoy. It's only very short. The animals are very short as well. I hope you've noticed the pun in the title. So without more ado, here comes the story. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, we're going to begin this story. It's called The Christmas Sheep. It's taken from It's a Home Life Book 4, Northcote, 1984 to 1994. We'd bred quite a respectable number of Soay sheep since the Northcote Heavy Horse Centre had first opened in 1989. We'd bought 8 Soay ewes from a breeder in Leicestershire and transported them home in the back of our Land Rover long wheelbase Safari. Soays are quite small, a feral breed originating from the island of the same name, situated in the Inner Hebrides off the west coast of Scotland and located just south of the Isle of Skye. I suppose they were the size of medium-sized dogs and caused a great deal of interest to the numerous motorists pulling alongside and overtaking on our 90-mile or so journey home. Soays are also very independent and self-sufficient, but it wasn't until around 1992 that we managed to find them a male companion. They are what's called a rare breed, that is, few in number, and their future is endangered. The main reason we bought them was because they are excellent for keeping pasture in good condition. They'll eat the grass that many other animals, such as our heavy horses, will not normally eat. A little more about feral type sheep is that they are obviously small and have small feet. They'll not poach wet ground or ground that's been reinstated. They eat gently and do not rip huge chunks of grass up by the roots. They are frequently used in areas of special scientific interest because of these special qualities. Apart from this benefit, they're very attractive to look at and frequently comic in their mannerisms. They all have horns, female and male, and can jump quite high when the mood takes them. Do remember this bit about jumping quite high. Enderby came in 1992, and during that year all the females had at least 1 lamb and some had 2. Enderby was a very attractive feral breed ram, but not a Soay. In fact, he was a North Ronaldsay, a slightly larger breed, again from the island of that name in the west, not in the Western Islands. In fact, he was from the Orkney Islands. He'd been living at a petting type farm for visitors at a village not too far away. The farm had closed down and he came to us. Enderby had beautiful, well-developed curly horns and other well-developed things too. The Soay females were very excited, to say the least. Before we move on, why was he called Enderby? Well, we named him after the relatively local village where he was born, a village called Mavis Enderby on the edge of the Lincolnshire Wolds. It so happened then that towards the end of that year we had a surplus number of young Soay type sheep and had to move them on. An advert was placed in the local paper, and a young lady from Boston came to see them with a view of buying several as a surprise Christmas gift for her ex-butcher father. She knew her father had a large garden and they could serve a dual purpose of entertainment and mobile lawn mowers. She bought 4, or maybe it was 6. The price was very reasonable, and she duly collected her surprise gift on Christmas Eve, or gifts. We heard the last but one episode in this tale from a friend who was also a neighbour of the father, who lived just a few gardens away on a very upmarket road on the very edge of Boston. Evidently Christmas morning arrived and the young sheep were no longer in the garden, where the daughter had left them. But a distraught neighbour telephoned to ask if they knew anything about the strange, small, horned, woolly animals that had invaded their garden and were gradually eating their way through the lovely flower beds. They had in fact jumped 3 garden fences and hedges to find the one they preferred. We kept a low profile. Remember, we only heard all about this third hand. Finally, at about the same time on that same Christmas morning, I was called out by a neighbour at the other end of our village of Great Steeping, who had just found a not quite so small, very woolly and very attractive dark-coloured ram with huge horns in among his pedigree sheep flock. I duly went to retrieve Enderby, who would have managed far better if only he could have taken a short ladder with him to assist with pleasing his new lady friends. There we are. That's the end of that short story, brought to you by Cracker Books, written and read by Keith Sanders. Now then, there was 2 little stories in there. Did you notice that I didn't get away without being suffering a bit? So I got called away from my Sunday lunch by a farmer down the road who was very irate. As I had to go and recover this chap. And then go back to my lunch afterwards. So there was a bit of a sting in the tail, wasn't there? Coming up is the links to all our other stories, the Buzzsprout site where you can download any of these audio stories, listen to them on anything you like, when you're bored or whatever. None of them are very long. There's lots and lots. I'm sure you'll find something to entertain you. Then there's the books. Coming Christmas, if you get bored at Christmas, there's lots of storybooks which you can download and look at. You don't have to, if your brain's a bit soft, if it's a bit stretched, then the storybooks, the lots of pictures you'd find quite relaxing. So that's coming up as well. So thanks for being with us today. Until the next time, goodbye. Oh, and Happy New Year.